In this video, I'm going to explain you how to use the Learning and Development QuickScan. It is a tool to help you and your L&D team to define the future focus. You make a gap between the current and the desired situation, and after that you make a more precise plan what kind of actions you actually need to take. For more information, check out my book because there's all the steps that you need to take, the templates, etc. etc. One thing that I want to highlight up front is the importance to start with your business context. What kind of organization do you work for? What are the key challenges? What is your business strategy? And all these things should translate to the focus, the service, and the attention of learning and development. For now, I will guide you through the steps of this quick scan. We'll start with the top circle, the why, differentiated in 5 different pieces. The first piece in the quick scan is about compliance. It's not so much about a skill gap why training or e-learning is offered, but much more because of rules and regulations. Because even the most experienced finance advisor or nurse in a hospital needs to do a certain training on an annual basis to make sure that they are compliant when there's an accident or an audit. The second is about functional skills. These are the skills that you need to have to fulfill your current job successfully. And that can mean that when you work in a supermarket, you need to know how to operate the counter. But also, if you work as a police officer, you need to know when and how to draw your gun in case of emergency. So these are the practical things you need to be successful to fulfill your current role. Then we have talent, leadership, and professional development. That is not so much about practical things you need to have for your current role, but things to get better in your role. For instance, as a professional to become better in presenting or learning influencing skills. So these are not strictly necessary, but things you can offer as an L&D department to help people to grow towards another role in the future, or also to be happy in their current work, to be able to develop themselves and to be experienced as a great place to work where you can grow and develop yourself, not only for the functional stuff you need to have for your current role. The next one is about performance improvement. That has been a buzzword in the learning and development profession for the last few years, and there's a fundamental difference because you don't think so much based on learning objectives, but you start with performance objectives. For instance, the sales of a certain article goes down, or you see in the production area that there's an reoccurring issues in the production that needs to be fixed. And you actually address these kind of challenges by doing a root cause analysis to see like what is going on and what do we need to do differently, whether we might need to upskill people, but also maybe we need to improve or change processes to be able to fix this problem. So you don't start with what do people need to learn, but you actually start with the question, where isn't our performance in the way it should be, and how can we make a project around that to see what's going on and where do we need to change that to make improvement. The last one is about change, strategy, and culture. And the essence of this piece of the pie is about the ambitions that you have from an organizational perspective. And maybe you want to change from a brick and mortar organization to a fully online organization, or you want to start working totally in an agile way of working. Big organizational changes that needs to take place to maintain successful towards the future, and possible learning programs or initiatives that could flow out of these kind of ambitions. So if you look at these 5 different elements of the upper side of the quick scan, divide 100 points on your current focus, so where do you focus on most at the moment, but also divide 100 points on where do you ideally want to focus on towards the future. And there is an assessment tool, an Excel document that you can use for that, and you can download that on my website. And now we go to the downside of the quick scan, the how. The first one is about coordinating and organizing. It might be a very time-consuming part of the work of an L&D department, planning new trainings, keeping the learning management system up to date, making sure that there's an actor being booked for the upcoming leadership program, etc., etc. All this kind of hands-on operational stuff that needs to take place to make sure things run smooth and effectively. The second one is about producing and facilitating, developing learning solutions yourself, creating e-learnings, maybe even facilitating training. It's not so much about buying training at an external vendor, but really making all these things in-home yourself. What might be sometimes necessary, but can also be very time consuming if you don't make well thought decisions in terms of a make or buy policy. The third one is about marketing and communication, because so many L&D departments have great stuff, great programs, excellent e-learnings, but not always the employee know where to find them, or they are not always displayed in an attractive way. So to make sure that all this great stuff that you have is also visible, accessible, and also appealing in a way that people also perceive this as great content that might be relevant for them. But it can also mean very practical stuff about keeping your SharePoint environment up to date and make sure that the process about booking a training is very simple, intuitive, and customer friendly. The next one is about the project organization. And I mean with this the big projects within organizations, such as the implementation of a new system, where multiple expertise areas come together to make this successful. So in this kind of project, you might work together with the IT department, with the legal department, with the communication department, etc., etc. Don't mistake this with the fact that most work that L&D professionals do are also being done in a project approach. In this case, I really mean the big organizational projects where you participate in as a learning and development professional. And the final one is about strategic advice. And a big trend we see in a lot of L&D teams is that L&D department aim to become a business partner, to be more proactive and more strategic, sitting down with management teams to discuss what is your ambition, where are you going with this department, what does it mean for your people, the competencies they have, and how can we proactively already engage on this to make sure that we provide the right resources and the right support in time. So not so much an order taker that sits down and waits until somebody requires an e-learning, but somebody that reaches out proactively to see what are the strategic ambitions and what does this mean for my service and the products that we need to offer. Also, for the downside of the quick scan, divide 100 points on your current situation, so where do you focus most and least on, and also on the desired situation, where would you like to move towards to. Again, more explanation can be found in the book, and all the supporting templates can be found on my website.